Lawrence County depends on WDXE News, on the air since 1951. This is The Legend. 105.3, 95.3.
And we have made it to Bulletproof Estate Planning with my friend Stan Pierchoski, who's in the house this morning.
Good morning, Jeff.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Yeah, you may have to adjust your headphones
that's
there.
all right.
I've got you fixed up there. I think we're good.
It's plenty loud. It's just sometimes a little too loud.
Yeah.
I think it's just my headphones. Great, as long as we're broadcasting. Yeah, welcome. You said we made it.
It's been a whole week.
It has. It hasn't been too rough of a week, but
to me, this week has been 3 weeks long.
Oh, really? I get those. I get those from time to time.
I didn't think Friday would ever get here this week.
Well, it's here, so
yes, it is.
All it's sweeter. And don't forget, my assistant reminded me earlier that Valentine's Day is tomorrow.
Valentine's Day is tomorrow.
That has a bad habit of sneaking up on me.
I've been joking all morning that I've got my wife her new mop.
You know, I refer to what I call the triple whammy. Okay. First of all, my wife is hard to buy for. I'm sure I'm hard to buy for too. You know, when you're married a long time, it's like you got everything. If you need something, you go get it.
We've got to that point. Yes.
So my triple whammy is my wife's. There's Christmas in December.
Yes.
My wife's birthday's in January, and then Valentine's Day's in February.
Well, you're the same.
And then my kids say, "Hey, you got any ideas for Mom?" And it's like I got to burn some of my ideas of giving it to them.
Yeah.
I just run out.
I'm in the exact same boat. Christmas and then Teresa's birthday, January 1st.
Yep. Oh my God.
And then February, here we are. So
yeah. Anyway, this is Bulletproof Estate Planning. We do this show every Friday morning from 8 to 9 on WDXE, and it's an interactive show, call-in show. The telephone number, if you want to call in with a question or a comment or share an experience, 931-766-9393. Easy number to remember.
that is correct.
And call us and talk to us. First of all, let me go over, we had a seminar scheduled, and we got hit by the ice storm on that Saturday. So
yes.
we punted it to the next Saturday, which I believe was the 31st. And we had a banner turnout. It was over at the Star Theater in Pulaski. We had a great turnout. We had 85 folks show up there. It was pretty good.
Oh, wow, that's great.
We originally had 100 or more, but some of them had to go to the next one. But speaking of the next one, which is what I'm getting to,
yes,
the next one is March, because we do them about every other month. And so this is going to be March. It's going to be the 28th, which is a Saturday. And that one's going to be right here at WLX radio station, like we do, back in the building. And it's a Saturday, so it's 10 o'clock in the morning. We call it Will's Trust in the Nursing Home. So if you want to come to that, it's certainly not too early to RSVP. Some of our folks that couldn't make when we changed the other one by 1 week, couldn't make the second week.
Yes.
And of course it wasn't icy the second week, but it was bitter cold, and some folks just don't like it. Like 12 degrees in the morning. So I don't blame you if you didn't want to get out. But I've got quite a few signups for that already. Bleed over from before, but they're pretty popular, so we get good turnouts. But we have big venues like this one in the Star Theater, usually plenty of rooms.
Very good.
I'll bring that up again at the end of the hour. But we were talking off mic about what we're going to talk about today, and I think you said you would like to start off with some kind of comment.
We may go in a few different directions, I guess, but we got to get one thing out of the way. The whole nation has been mesmerized with this missing lady.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's 24/7 since this happened.
I like to watch Fox News.
Yes.
And when I watch it, it's like, all right, I'm not sitting here an hour watching one of these shows and that's all they talk about.
Yeah.
It's like it's real time. It's like you're standing. And I'm all for finding the guy. Don't get
yes,
me wrong,
absolutely.
But I mean, my question is there anything else going on I'd like to hear about?
Well,
I think there is.
There's lots of other stuff going on.
Makes you wonder if it's a distraction.
But obviously the lady's missing, and obviously there's something evidently bad that has happened, and it is a mystery.
I think they'll get to the bottom of it, but
hopefully they will.
It seems to be taking.
But one of the questions that came up this morning, and I'm kind of Peggy helped me think up some things this morning.
Okay.
Well, she was asking about how much, and this is kind of off topic for us a little bit. But she's talking about how deep FBI and other people can find out things about you know what they know. And, the Bitcoin thing came up.
Yeah.
And I decided, just by watching all this stuff, if they want to know everything about you, they can without you even knowing they know everything about you.
That's right. I think that's right.
Honestly, I don't think you could hide much of anything.
Well, and if they find something out about this person that way,
yeah,
even if they explained it, I don't think we would exactly understand how they get to that point.
Yeah,
Because, it's like when I was in college or in grad school.
Yeah.
That was quite some time ago, and I used to program computers in machine language, which is hexadecimal. Zeros, either binary or
Right.
hexadecimal.
Right.
Where you're really talking to the machine on its level when you do that.
That's correct.
And then I didn't keep up with that when I got into engineering. You learn the languages like Fortran and COBOL and the BASIC and the different languages. But I didn't keep up with it over the years. And now, if you want to talk about computers, I mean, it's so far over my head. It's like, and then what I'm getting at is when you talk about cryptocurrency or digital money.
Yeah.
There's this thing called blockchain technology, and I tried reading up on it one time, and it's not that I can't understand it. It's just so new and so different that it's hard to follow. And so they can say, well, we can track this and we can find it, and it's like, well, that's what we hear, and they find the guy. But what was involved in that is like seriously in depth and a lot of moving parts when to do.
Yeah, that was one of the things. Is Bitcoin supposedly can't be traced.
I think,
but I think that's probably wrong.
Well, actually, I had some news on last night when I got home and I was working on something, and I heard in the background they were talking about that, and there was somebody that was claiming, no, that's not right. It is definitely traceable. This thing called your wallet. Here's where I get exposed to Bitcoin or digital assets. Some people have them and they want to know, can I put those in my trust?
Yeah.
And the answer is yes, but the way we put it in the trust is we title their wallet. There's a thing called a wallet.
Yes.
And it's like a digital place where all your stuff
is.
It comes in and goes out. And we put the wallet in the trust, and that's how we put the Bitcoin in there. Kind of like a bank account. The bank account is the wallet.
Yes.
Whatever's in the wallet is in the trust because it's in the wallet, which is in the trust.
And that's interesting.
Yeah, but apparently you can trace the goes ins and goes outs of the wallet, and so you can see that.
Somebody can. Somebody has to.
I mean, somebody had to write the program that makes this stuff work.
Yeah. If it can't be traced, then how do you find it? I mean, so it's got to be found somehow.
And you know what else is? I look at this and I think, we don't really have any Lex Luthor master criminal minds out there. I mean, well, there may be some, but basically, I used to do a lot of criminal defense work.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I guess I don't want to be insulting, but people commit crime. It's probably not a bad idea to insult them, but they're not that.
They're not that smart. Yes.
They're somewhat desperate. You know what I mean? They're not that smart.
Yeah.
And maybe 50 years ago, but if you got to think through stuff like the blockchain technology of being paid in Bitcoin. I mean, you'd have to be a Lex Luthor master criminal mind to get that to work for you.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are some that can and do.
Because he's going to be caught. There's no doubt about it. They're going to find him. They're going to catch him. Look at the people they brought in from the 2012 Benghazi thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't give up on them. Now, I think there was a period of years where they weren't looking, like the last administration and stuff.
Sure.
But, I mean, if you can do it internationally, I mean, they'll get caught. You wait and see. If it takes a while, they're not going to give up on it.
Well, this brings about another question that I thought about during all this. This lady's obviously missing, and the longer it goes, the less hope we have of finding her alive. As bad as I hate to say that, I mean, nobody wants to hear that.
That's a big worry because she does have, not only she has advanced age, but she has some health problems.
But when someone, and this may be out of our wheelhorse here, but when someone is missing like that, how long is it before, if they just never found, before they're presumed dead?
I don't know. I don't have an answer to that.
I don't either. And that brings us to the estate question, because what do you do? God forbid that happened to any of us. Okay, but what do you do when someone is just totally gone and we don't know where they are? I mean,
there has to be a point where you can make that presumption.
Yeah.
And a presumption carries the day unless you can rebut the presumption. And the only way to rebut that is some kind of evidence of potential still life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know, but does that mean now I have to start telling people, hey, if you pass away, you want to make sure your family's taken care of, and now you have to add, oh, and by the way, if you're ever kidnapped, you got to make sure your family's taken care of.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I have to, but that fits in there. I mean, if she has an estate plan, because I think you're right. I think there's probably the likelihood of her not being alive or not coming home grows with every day.
Yeah.
Because she's got some kind of medications or issues, and she's about 83, 84.
Yeah.
So she's somewhat frail. And
it's a grim story.
It is a grim story.
Yeah, and I mean, God forbid that any of us have to go through that, but people do go through that. That happens.
One thing that was said by when it first came out, it was interesting to watch. Like I said, it's not that I don't care, but I'd like to hear about, the government shutdown and what's going on with that, the potential shutdown. I'd like to hear other news. But there was some talk about the fact that some of those drug organizations and cartels, not so much now that with this administration, but back in the last administration, certain drug cartels, part of their revenue gathering was they would come across the border and kidnap people, and that was it wasn't these high profile cases or real high dollar things, but it was a revenue generating source. For
Yeah,
them.
true
If
story.
you can imagine that.
I can't imagine it. I mean, that's a horror. That's an absolute horror story.
Also in the news is all this stuff going on with the Somali crowd in Minneapolis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you know? Did you ever see the movie Captain Phillips, where they take over the ship? That was Tom Hanks was the captain of that. And
Tom Hanks.
that was Somali.
No, I didn't see that one, but I was thinking of Mutiny on the Bounty.
Well, I forget what it's called. But anyway, that movie is a real event.
Yeah, those were Somalians that did that.
That's right. It was a real event that happened.
Yeah, that's
It was
right.
a tanker they took over. Do you know that the country of Somalia, the people there produce nothing. They generate no. Do you know the number one source of generation of revenue in the country of Somalia is?
I have no idea.
It's theft. It's piracy.
Wow. Okay.
That's what they do for a living, piracy. And so they create nothing. They produce nothing. They just consume. I mean, they're just a literal virus.
It's amazing.
I'll probably get a lot of flack for saying
Probably
that.
will.
It is what it is. I mean,
it's-
and so they come here and they do what they do.
It's factual.
And they do what
anyway.
they do.
Yeah.
And they get protected here. And that needs to stop.
I guess you watched that exchange with the Attorney General from Minnesota.
I didn't.
Oh,
but
you need to.
He's the one that's all for that, right?
Yeah, he was bought and paid for.
Oh yeah.
And,
I heard some things he said in the past.
And they just had a heated exchange with him and Senator Holman. Is that his name? I may not have his name right, but they had a fireball exchange, and I've listened and watched some of that even this morning. So
Usually, when you're in that position, you can't withstand a debate like that very well.
oh my gosh, it was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad. And if he did what they say they've caught him red-handed doing, it's corruption all the way up to the top.
I mean, the day's coming when some of these people that hear in the news, they're going to be marching out in handcuffs.
Yeah.
They have to.
Yeah, we have a lot of that in our country.
Well,
Unfortunately.
now when that happened and it started looking in, they started looking other places, and they're finding it other places in the same color states
Yeah.
and stuff. So,
Well, I want to steer us back into
There
your
you go.
world. I
That's
want to
right.
steer us back into your world because this came up as well, talking about this missing person, and then, of course, you deal, and rightly so. We would encourage everyone to do the state planning before you pass. Get all this done, and that's what your practice is all about, and trying to educate people to do. But the question came up is, once someone has passed, how soon or how long do you wait before you start the process of closing out the estate?
oh, pretty good question. It depends on what happened in their planning,
Yeah,
because there are a couple of choices. Let's say they just have a will.
yeah,
Okay, a will goes through probate. I mean, I used to get people that say, I want to do a will, and I want it to be a really good one so my kids don't have to go through probate.
Sure.
And I would say, I think I'm really good, but I'm not that good because it can't be. The definition of probate is the establishing of the will.
Okay.
And so it's an absolute legal assurity that if you have a will, you're going to go through probate. Now, I can qualify that a little bit by saying a lot of times you have a husband and wife and you have the first death and there's no probate. That's right, because everything's jointly owned, there's no property to actually pass, so there's usually not a probate. But at the second death, it all belongs to the other, most assuredly there'll be probate then.
Yeah.
So there may be times you have a will and don't have probate, but that's because the assets are not titled to the person, they're jointly titled. But
Yes.
So you're going to go through probate. Now, if you go through probate, before you can do any kind of administration of the estate, is what we're talking about. When I say administration of the estate, I mean get somebody in charge,
Yes.
put somebody in charge, open the estate with the courts, deal with all the creditors, do the inventory of property, and then eventually reach the distribution stage where you start shelling out the assets, right?
Yes.
Well, when you open the probate estate, it's usually a month or a couple months after the death. Typically, it could be sooner, but it's typically a couple months into it. Creditors' rights stay open for 12 months after death. And so statistically, in the state of Tennessee, according to the Administrative Office of the Courts, the statistics for the average probate estate in Tennessee is between 12 to 16 months. That's the average. So you can open the estate, but you've got to deal with all the steps in the probate, and it's riddled with duties, deadlines, and obligations all through the procedure. So
Yes.
it takes time. People can be heard. People got to get paid. So I'm not going to go through all the steps, but if you've ever been through it, they're all there. Some take a lot longer. If there's a challenge, it takes even longer than that. So
Yeah.
you usually can't do it the day after death. You know what I mean? It doesn't happen that fast.
Right, no.
Now, if you're in a trust, whole different story. Any of the trusts that we do all work pretty much the same at death. Sometimes the difference between the trusts we do is what happens during life. In other words, the trust we do to protect you from long-term care, your assets from long-term care is something that's going to happen to you during your life, and so it does its work then. But at
Sure.
death, all these trusts say in them, where does your stuff go?
Yes.
Right? So let's just say, I come to my death, and I named one of my kids as the successor trustee, and I just leave it a third to each child.
Sure.
It can happen very rapidly, because in the probate setting, people name in their will what they call executor.
Yes.
Let me square up some terms here. You have a will that needs to be executed. So
Yes.
the person who is in charge of doing that is the executor.
Right.
Now, the executor isn't, people say, well, I'm the executor of my dad's will, for my dad. And I say, is your dad still alive? And they say, yes. I say, well, you're not anything yet. You're not an executor until you open a probate estate, go into court, and have the court swear you in as the executor.
Right.
Then you are the executor. You have no power whatsoever until the court says you do.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a will, then your estate has to be administered, and so you have an administrator. Okay.
Okay.
And then they have the female term, which is executrix or administrix,
Right.
that sort of thing. So, but when you have a trust, the person that's in charge after death is called the successor trustee. You're the lifetime trustee. For my trust, I'm the lifetime trustee. At my death, I name somebody to be the successor trustee.
Yes.
Now, big difference in that is when I write if I write the trust today in 2026, and I name, say, my oldest son as the successor trustee, in the document that I create today, I give him the full force and power of our trust code to be the successor, and that job of his springs to life the moment of my death.
Yes.
Because he can't do anything during life because I'm the trustee. Okay, he's the trustee when I'm not the trustee, and at my death, it springs to life. He has all the full force and authority under the trust code to do anything and everything with my estate. So literally, hoping they'll mourn for me, but assuming they don't, he could literally, on the next day after I pass away, start distributing property.
Okay.
It's rapid. And here's how it works. If you want to distribute a bank account in probate, you got to go get the bank account, you got to present it to the court, you got to present it to all the interested parties, and eventually the court will agree that, okay, this needs to be distributed. In a successor trusteeship or the administration of a trust, my oldest son needs to walk into the bank and say, I want to take over, how much is in my dad's bank account, I want to distribute it. They might look at him funny and say, under what authority are you here to distribute your father's bank account?
Yes.
And he'll hold up a sheet of paper and say, this is the document that makes me the successor trustee. Here's a death certificate that shows that my dad is not here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Now the bank, who are no strangers to trust law, they all have a trust department, so banks get it, they know how it works.
Right.
They will recognize that authority immediately. They'll say,
Right.
hey, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And say, okay, suppose there's $150,000 in the bank account. My son can say, all right, $150,000, here's what I want to do. I want to issue 3 checks, one to me as the individual, not the executor, one to my sister, and one to my other brother. And then I want to for $50,000 each, and I want to close the account. He'll walk out of there in that hour with those assets. He'll go hand the check to himself, and hand a check to his brother, and hand a check to his sister, and that asset got distributed just like that. And like I said, that could be done the day after I pass away. But it's usually not done quite that quick. It takes a few days to get a death certificate.
Yeah, that's right.
And hopefully they'll mourn for. They might mourn a couple of days for me. My wife probably a couple months, right? But you know what I'm getting at.
Right.
They can do it as soon as they're ready to start doing it. They have the full. They don't have to go to court and get any authority. They've got it already. They got it when we wrote the trust. It just didn't become effective until the job sprang to life, and they're the successor trustee. But they've already got all the power they need to do everything. Here's the way it works in real estate. Getting into your, I think you call it a wheel horse. I think it's wheelhouse.
Wheelhouse, yes.
But we'll use wheel horse because that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
But
that's a good brand of more it used to be.
they can walk into an attorney's office because you need an attorney to write deeds in Tennessee.
Yes.
They walk in and say, hey, I wanna write a deed and divide my dad's property into three equal portions.
Yes.
And the deed's gonna read from, the grantor is gonna be me, oldest son, successor trustee of Stan Pierchoski's trust, to brother, sister, and myself. Each a 1/3 undivided interest.
Sure.
The only delay there is how long it takes the attorney to draft the deed.
To do the stuff, yeah.
And then you sign the deed, and the real estate has been distributed just like that. I mean, now, all this distribution has to be done with what the trust says how to do it.
Yes.
You know, they're not making it up. If I say make it equal shares, then that's what it goes. If I say make it, you know, I have 3 kids, if I say 40%, 40%, and 20%, that's what they have to do.
Right.
So, but their ability to distribute it is that simple.
Interesting.
I have seen a trust completely administered in a matter of weeks. And the longest one I know about that took was about 3.5 months to do it. And that one, the gentleman had some property in a foreign domestic trust. I mean, a foreign asset protection trust down in Belize or Nivea, in Cook Islands or someplace in a foreign jurisdiction. When you got property in a foreign jurisdiction, you got to jump through their hoops. I mean, and it was all doable. It just there was a little bit of drag time doing it because you got to communicate with them and send them documentation. They got to respond back. But still, in the neighborhood of 3 to 4 months or something, it was all done. And that was the only asset that held things up. Everything else was done quickly.
Sure.
It was completely administered after that 3 to 4 months when we got those assets because they were pretty sizable, if I remember. So you said, when do you start administering the estate? With a trust, you can do it immediately, or I don't see you'd wait a while because you got beneficiaries who are going to say, hey, I'm a beneficiary, I'd like to get what's coming to me.
Right.
But in probate, you don't have a whole lot to say. I guess you could open up the estate rapidly, but I mean, once you open the estate, then there's things that got to be done.
Yeah, yeah.
And one of the first things is creditors. You know, you've seen the newspaper notice to creditors, right?
Sure.
So when you open a probate estate, you open it, you pay them about $600 to open the estate. You publish the will with the court. The court puts in the newspaper for 2 weeks, notice to creditors. Basically saying, if you think the deceased owes you anything, you need to throw your hat in the ring by filing a claim with the probate court. You don't send them a letter saying, hey, you owe me some money. You got to send it to the court now. So and they make the claim, and they have 120 days to do that. That's 4 months.
Yeah.
Now, can you do anything else in that 4 months? A few things, but not much. Sure. And here's why. If a creditor has 120 days to file a claim, the claim filed on day 1 is just as valid. I mean, the claim filed on day 120 is just as valid as the one that was filed on day 1, right? And if that's the case, you don't get 1 month into there and say, well, let's pay all these creditors off that have filed so far, because what if more come in and then you don't have enough to satisfy the later creditors?
Right.
You kind of have to wait till they all come in. And they have 120 days, and some of them drag their feet and file it late. I mean, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
And so once they're all in, you can start paying. Now, if you got a really big estate and you really don't anticipate becoming insolvent, you could do some distributions, but it's risky. An attorney would advise you wait to the 120 days of see what we have to look at. Some of them may be contested.
Right.
Some may not. But if we have plenty of money to distribute at the end of the 120 days, then it's okay to pay the creditors off. So that throws a 4 month and 2 week period in it right off the bat.
I get the question sometimes with people who are dealing with an estate, thinking that they have to wait till probate is over before they can liquidate assets, which is not necessarily so.
Well, liquidation of assets is part of probate.
That is, such as real estate and personal property. The only thing that has to take place is my understanding, is once we do sell, you can sell while you're in probate, but the funds for that have to go into the estate account and are held until probate's over.
That's right. When you say liquidate, are you specifically talking about selling?
Selling,
or distributing property?
Selling, well, I'm talking about selling.
Okay,
Selling, such as we sell a house or a farm as part of the estate and their personal property, all those funds are held in the estate until probate is finished. Right. They can't be distributed to the heirs.
That's right. And again, there's a couple ways that would happen. Usually, if I leave my farm to my kids,
yes,
they can distribute that piece of property to them quickly.
Yes.
And then they can sell it. I mean, if I say leave the property to my kids, there's no selling of that property.
That's true.
In my estate, unless there's creditors and there's not enough money to satisfy them.
That's right.
Then the probate estate has priority and can force the sale of the house to pay the creditors first and then distribute percentages like that.
Right.
So usually what happens is the estate is insolvent, but the real estate they want to sell. And when they get the money's still in the probate court, and the first thing they have to pay are debts of the estate. They use that money to pay that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they were insolvent to pay those debts. It's typically why they sell it in the estate. Now, you can do, I have people say, you know what, I don't want my kids fighting over this house, so I say, my successor trustee or my executor shall sell the property and distribute the proceeds in equal shares.
Yeah.
That gives them no discretion. They have to sell.
Right.
You know. Now, if they sell, they could be a bidder or make a bid on it, like
Sure.
as an individual to
And
buy
we've
it,
seen that happen.
if they wanted to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, if you sell it during the probate, all the assets go into the probate estate, and then the last thing you actually do before you close the estate out is the distribution.
Right.
And for one of the final things you have to do is everybody, all the beneficiaries have to submit a statement of distribution. Basically says, this will or this trust said I get a third of everything. I've got a third, I'm happy with it. I've been informed, I know what all was there. And so I'm satisfied that I got my third.
Sure.
Okay? And when everybody files those and they're all satisfied, then we can close.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And one of the reasons why you have the program that you have and are in the practice that you are in is to help guide people through this.
Yeah.
And give them advice on why or why not a will may not be a good idea.
Yeah. Now, one thing I can talk about it. One thing I don't do anymore is I don't do probate. I did it for years.
Yeah.
And I haven't done it for a few years now. And the reason I don't do it is because just everything I said, it ties up my office resources for like a year at a time. And nobody's ever happy. I don't like doing it. It's cumbersome. I'm just not set up to do it. We do so much trust work. I don't have the resources to do that.
Yeah.
Now, somebody once said, why don't you hire another attorney and just let them do probate? I thought about that and decided not to. I know somebody, at least one person for sure, and a second person that like to do probate. So we just refer them. And especially the person I refer to is a very trusted person. I think they do people very well. They do probate, so I refer it out. So I talk about this, and sometimes I'll get a call, and somebody will say, hey, my dad passed away, can you do the probate? And I say, I don't do probate. And they say, well, you talk about it all the time. And I said, no. So I hear in the radio, you talk about probate all the time. I said, no, I talk about probate avoidance all the time.
Yeah.
Do a trust and avoid probate.
That's what I was going to get to. So how do we avoid it? How do we avoid it, Stan?
I mean, a trust, the administration of a trust is a 100% probate avoidance. Never has to see the inside of a courthouse. I mean, the only time anything like that happens if somebody is disgruntled and decides they want to file, sue for something.
Yeah.
Then it gets into court. But otherwise, the administration of a trust is 100% private. I tell people you can come into my office and do it around my big conference table, or you can do it around the kitchen table. It's private. Nobody needs to know about it. You just do what the rules say, which you pay the debts of the estate, and then you distribute the property.
Yeah.
And so it's a different set of rules, but it accomplishes the same thing. It distributes the property after death.
Yes.
It just does it with so much less. It's so much less cumbersome.
There's a couple of things that you've talked about over the years now with me.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm well on my way to get my law degree. I don't know if you know that or not.
Is it coming up on 2 or coming up on 3?
I don't even know. It's just.
Could it possibly be?
But I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot with you.
We started around. Well, I can't remember.
But you not only avoid the probate and just a smooth transition for your heirs, but also there is the long-term healthcare aspect of this, which plays a big part in or should in everyone's concern, because we know and you know that TennCare takes a part of that. That whole thing comes into play. So tell us a little bit, kind of in review of why a trust can be a good thing for not losing everything in the nursing home.
Right. I mean, that's probably don't have time for that whole answer, but
yeah,
I can definitely hit the highlights.
Yes.
And you've heard me talk all about it before, and so some of the listeners. But let's just back up in history a little bit and say, okay, I'm 30 years old, and I decide to get a revocable living trust. And I say to that person, or the person, and I said, we have a trust that you can put your assets in and protect it from long-term care and stuff
Right.
like that. And most of the time, those people in midlife say, I'm not worried about that yet. I'll worry about that when the time comes. Just like I said when I was in my 30s
Sure.
and 40s, So, really, what I see with people as we get older, and as we get older, a couple things happen. One, I'm not talking about health either. That a lot of things happen then, right? But as we get older, we start approaching retirement. Okay, and when you start approaching retirement, or you're already in retirement, you start to think about things like the cost of long-term care. And the reason is you hear about of somebody that went there, or certain these stories, somebody goes there and it's very expensive. So it's start of our mind. Or you may be thinking about it because you have some ailments and you think, I may end up there. Or you think about it because one of your folks or somebody in the family ended up in long-term care. But we don't really think about that seriously until, I don't know, maybe not even in our 50s, but 50s, 60s for sure. And then after that, a lot of people think about it, right?
Yes.
And so when you think about that, here's the thought process. It's one of two. You say, one is like we call pre-planning. You think to yourself, gosh, if me or my spouse ever goes into long-term care, I hear that's like $10,000 a month, and I sure would hate to lose all that we worked for, all our lives, our nest egg that we build up. I hate to lose that to the cost of long-term care, okay? And that's the thought process. So you want
Sure.
to wonder if there's a way I can protect that so we don't lose it if one of us ends up there, okay? We don't know.
Sure.
Yet. Or the other thing is somebody is headed there for sure, or is already there. People have the same thought process. Gosh, my spouse is in long-term care. It's super expensive. How can I protect what we've worked for all our lives?
Right.
Okay? So now the trust plan really falls into pre-planning category. It's something you do ahead of time. Because it takes a few years for it to be 100% useful. And so the trust is a plan where you can put property into it. And I like to say, when you have the asset protection trust, you're kind of qualifying yourself for tent care early.
Yes.
Because you take let's say you get your land. I mean, let's say you got a $500,000 house, which is not unusual.
Right.
One of these days I'm going to start saying you got $1 million house, not unusual.
It ain't unusual there either.
So you got this house, it's a big asset. It's a big
Yes.
hunk of your estate. And you want to protect it because you want to leave it to your kids. I mean, that's kind of a common story that I hear.
Yes.
And so, but I want to make sure, here's the thing, it's like, how can I make sure I still have it at my death? Then now, when you say that, what we're saying is, what can happen during my lifetime that can exhaust my estate so I don't have anything to leave my kids?
Yeah.
And to enter long-term care, because if that comes up in your life, it's going to come up while you're alive, right?
That's right.
That's intuitive, but I mean, that's, because if you have a will that says, I leave everything I own to my kids, does that not presuppose that when you die, you have everything that you're talking
That's
about
true.
in there? What if you don't, if something came along and exhausted your estate, a third of nothing is still nothing that you're giving to the kids.
That's
you
right.
can't give them what you don't have.
That's right.
Because it's a testamentary instrument that gives away property at your death, whatever you had at your death. So it's a real concern. It's like if one of us goes to long-term care, and right now it's $10,000 a month, and a couple of them have already, before the ink was even dry on the month of January, have already made a change to it. Okay, so it's going to
Yeah.
happen. And
It's only going to go up.
That's right. And so it's like, what is this? You can do the math. What are you worth? And what's $10,000 a month, $120,000 a year? How long can you withstand that rate of financial bleeding
Sure.
before you have to sell real property or whatever?
Yeah.
So you think about that and you think, okay, what can I do to protect it? Well, what you can do when you try to get eligible for long-term care, we have to deal with what we call countable assets. And everybody's heard. If you ask anybody, they'll say, yeah, you can only, if you're going to go into care, you can't go into care until you only have $2,000 or less. You've heard me talk about this many times.
That's right.
And everybody focuses on the word $2,000. Okay, it doesn't mean $2,000 to your name. It says countable, $2,000 of countable assets. That's
Right.
a category of assets.
Right.
And so, but everybody interprets it as, if you go on the internet, it says $2,000. If you go talk to Joe across the street, the guy that knows everything, and
Yeah.
he's got the inside line, right?
Yeah.
He'll tell you, no, you got to get rid of your money, give it away or spend it, get down below $2,000. So your bank account, all your bank accounts, you have nothing but $1,800, something
Right.
less than $2,000.
Right.
Now that is a way to become eligible. I don't think it's a very bright way to do it, because why not? Why can't we get eligible and keep what we have?
That's right.
Does the law allow that? The answer is yes. There's
It
quite a
does.
few strategies, and they're not my strategies. I didn't make this stuff up. It's the Tent Care Act. It's the Catastrophic Illness Act, it's the Deficit Reduction Act. All these things give us tools that we can work with to save property.
Perfect.
So when we put property, the minute we put property into an asset protection trust, we have changed its posture from a countable asset to a non-countable asset. And the reason is because we limit its availability to us for the cost of care. It's still ours. We can still control it. We can still sell it. We can still buy another house with the money. We can take the money that we sell it for and turn it into gold or just cash or Edward Jones account or Morgan Stanley managed account, something like that. We can do CDs. We can control it all day long.
Right.
We're just limiting our access to it because if we have access to it, then they have access to it.
That's right.
And we want to. And access is a very specific term. When I say access to an asset, the immediate understanding is getting at it. Access doesn't mean get at it. It means get at it a very specific way. And what the access is, in this trust scenario, is the principal cannot come out of the trust and go directly to the maker of the trust. That's access, and that's what we don't want to have happen, because an axiom of law is if you can get access to an asset, so too can your creditors.
Yes.
So we want to create a situation where we don't have access to it. When I say that, people go, well, that sounds like we're giving it up.
Sounds dangerous.
We'll never see it again. It's gone forever. Access is a legal term. It means it cannot come out of the trust a specific way. It can still come out of the trust for our benefit. Remember, we talked about distributing it to one of the lifetime beneficiaries who can turn around and use it on our behalf. And the way we set this up is it's just a perfect setup. So you get as close to having your cake and eating it too. You got your property in an asset protection trust, and it's immediately non-countable. So if in the future you have to qualify for TennCare, and they say, could you please list all your countable assets? Nothing in the trust is in the list because it's not a countable asset.
Right.
And so the only thing on your list now is what we didn't put in.
Yeah.
Which is usually a smaller fraction of the estate.
Right.
And we deal with that with crisis planning tools because that's when we have to do it. When you file an application, you have to be in care before you can even file an application.
Yeah.
And if you never go into care, then the asset protection trust works like any other trust and just distributes at death, probate free, and all that stuff. So it's really the best of all worlds to have that because you really position yourself to seriously mitigate the blow of high cost of long-term care.
Yes.
I mean, you can literally eliminate it.
Yeah.
The cost.
It just makes so much more sense.
Not the long-term care. I mean, if you got to go, you got to go. But you can mitigate and almost eliminate the cost of it.
Yeah.
So.
What a great strategy. And,
I think so. It's a grand plan. It's one of the things that got me started when I was changing from criminal law. That captivated my interest because everybody always has the question: how do I keep the nursing home from getting my stuff?
Yeah, get all my stuff.
I mean, it's in one form or another. That question was on everybody's mind.
Yeah.
And I started to embrace the question and look into it. And there's an answer to it.
Yeah.
This is the answer to it.
Yeah.
Is it well known? No. Why is it not well known? I don't know. That's also one of the reasons I started doing seminars and talking with radios because people don't know the options out there. When they hear the option of the Asset Protection Trust, I'm going to bet over 90% of people say, that sounds like a good plan to me.
It's been drilled into our heads for years and years and years, get a will, get a will, get a will. From the time that you become a young adult.
I think so too.
It's just, it's one of those things that come from whatever direction it came from, I guess the world of law and attorneys and whatever, you need a will. Make sure you got a will.
If you're in the military, before they deploy you, they require you to make a will. They give you like a fill-in-the-blank form.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. Now, I have my own thoughts on why that's that way, but I've run into some other attorneys that purposely recommend wills because there's a lot of money in probate. There can be. An attorney can charge 3 to 5% of the estate.
Yeah.
If you got an estate worth a couple $100,000, you're talking about some real money.
Well, see, that's follow the money, they say.
Yep. Now, and I hate that about the industry because I know some people do it for that very purpose.
Yeah.
Actually, I can speak from the first person. One time I had a case where we were trying to find somebody came to me with a will, and it was back when I was probating. I don't do it anymore, and they couldn't find the will. And I thought we looked at it, couldn't find it, and I said, well, somebody over in East Tennessee wrote it because they had moved. And I just thought, I don't really keep original wills, and I don't think an attorney would do that because when you probate, you need that. I thought just out of taking a shot in the dark, I'd call the attorney and see if they had the original, and I did.
Yeah.
And they said, we do.
Yeah.
Which surprised me, but I'm thinking, what the heck are you doing keeping original wills for? But otherwise, I was also glad we found it, right?
Right.
And so I said, great, we found it. And you know, because he passed away, we're doing probate over here, and we need that original. Can I make arrangements to get that sent to me? And the attorney over there kind of asked me some questions. Said, well, you know, what are you doing over there? I said, well, I was hired to do the probate. And if I remember the exact words they said, well, I wrote that will, I should be doing that probate. And that's the response I got.
Yeah.
Now I can only interpret that one way.
Yeah.
I mean, because it was an angry statement.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I mean, I don't recommend wills because first of all, I don't want to get involved in probate, and probate is expensive, and I don't want it to be expensive in my favor, but
Sure.
at your expense. I don't do business that way. We do a trust that keeps you out of probate. I mean, you pay me to do the trust, of course, but it's not near as expensive as probate. But I just don't practice law that way, and I think that's why the push is will.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Even on TV, they have that thing. They call it wills and trusts.
Yeah.
But even all the commercials talk about doing a will.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's one where it says, "Son, I want you to have all this when I'm done," and the guy pops up and says, "Not good enough. You got to put it in writing." You ever seen those commercials?
I have not.
Really?
I have not seen that.
Oh,
But it doesn't surprise me.
you know, but I mean, it was, and it's always about a will. But
Yeah.
the title is wills and trusts, so they claim to do trusts, which I have seen some of their trusts, and I'm not very impressed because you know trust law is governed by state law, and
Yeah.
different states have different rules, and anything that claims to be valid in all 50 states really sets off my alarm bell because I've seen them and I've found them lacking.
Yeah. Yeah. You would want to be specific to your state in state law.
I mean, I guess we're getting toward the end, but
No,
I'm going to tell a little story about a do-it-yourself
Yeah, go ahead.
will that was done. It was not do-it-yourself, but it was online.
Online will?
Do-it-yourself.
Oh, wow, okay.
Fill in the blanks, right?
You don't want to do that.
And it was a document in there like a power of attorney.
Yeah.
And you got down to it, and at the bottom it had the signature of the person doing it. Below it had a notary blank for the person doing it. And below that it had two lines for witnesses, witness one and witness two.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm trying to remember what the facts were, but it just had a signature on it. Okay.
Yeah.
And the person was trying to use it, and the bank said, no, we're not going to recognize this. It's not, you know, there's no notary and there's no witnesses. Okay. And they tried to do this several times, and the bank just said, we're not going to do it. And I got involved, and this was years ago, because one time I always wondered what verification is needed for a power of attorney.
Yeah.
Because it should say in it what makes it, the authority that makes it. Okay.
Right.
So I looked, and sure enough, I went through the statute, and I thought, I can hardly believe this. So I went through it again with a fine-tooth comb.
Yeah.
All it needs on a power of attorney is to be signed.
Yeah.
Now the bank was just having a hissy fit and said, look, the notary's blank and the witnesses are blank. And I said, it doesn't need to be notarized and it doesn't need to be witnessed. Now, when I do a power of attorney, I notarize it. You know why? To avoid the bank having a fit about it, and I have to explain myself every time. It's like, pick your battles. I don't like doing stupid things like adding a notary when it's not necessary.
Right.
But if it keeps me from arguing with the bank for ad infinitum, I'll just say, you know what? I'll take the easy route and notarize it, even though it's meaningless. Yeah. Sure, I don't mind doing a stupid thing like that.
Right.
But here's the point I'm trying to make. This form claimed to be valid in all 50 states.
Yeah.
So if some state require notary, then that's what you would do. Some states may require witnessing. That's what you would do.
Right.
So to fail on the side of caution, they put down what you need to do in all 50 states. You had to pick the one that was valid in yours. Now, I was successful in showing the bank that that's all it needed.
Yeah.
But you look at it, the first thing you say is, oh shoot, there's a bunch of stuff missing here. This is not valid. One notarized, one witness.
Yeah.
The online form is saying, well, we're putting all these down here because some states require notary, some require just signature, some require witnesses, some require notary and witnesses.
Yeah.
And so it's all there, but it's confusing because here's the thing, if it's a do-it-yourself power of attorney,
Yeah.
and you're filling in the blanks, don't you have to know what your Durable Power of Attorney Act says in your state, so you know whether to sign it, notarize it, or witness it, or all three, or any combination of them, right?
Yeah.
They're not offering that to you.
Yeah.
Oh, this is valid in all 50 states. Well, it's valid in all 50 states if you fill it out right.
Yeah. If you fill it out right. Yeah.
So, I mean, they're lacking like that. They fail. And they have general powers. While I'm on the topic of because power of attorneys are one of my pet peeves. They have to be done right, and they're not in so many cases. If you got a power of attorney, here's a little homework for you. If you got a power of attorney out there, and it's a page or two or three, short like that, look through there, and I guarantee you will see some language that says, this power of attorney incorporates all the powers under the code, and it'll cite the Tennessee Code section by reference. It doesn't list them, it says we're bringing them in by reference, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you go to the Power of Attorney Act that we have adopted, there's two sets of powers. There's standard powers and there's enhanced powers. Okay. Now, that language brings in all the standard powers, which are just that, the standard stuff you would expect, right?
Yeah.
But there is a whole list of enhanced powers. Enhanced powers, I call them superpowers, but enhanced power means here's a power you can give your agent. But it's enhanced because if you want to give it to your agent, you have to say the power in the four corners of the document. So if I don't remember how there are, there's like 18 or so, 20, let's say 20 powers. If you want them to have power number one, the language of that power has to be in it for you to pass it. So if it says, my agent can do anything and everything I can do, it doesn't mean anything and everything. Sure. It means, okay, the standard powers all came over with that in reference, but none of the enhanced powers did unless you put them in the document. That's why my powers of attorneys are 15, 16 pages long. I list them all, and they all come in. And when you do a trust plan, several of those things you need. Here's a classic one. How do you file a tax return for somebody if you're a power of attorney? Well, the IRS has a form. I forget the number, 8709 or whatever. That is their power of attorney. It's got certain language in it. They won't let you act as power of attorney unless you have that form filled out or that language in your power of attorney, and that's one of the enhanced powers. So if you don't bring it in, you're going to have a hard time filing a tax return for that person. Dealing with trust and bank accounts in trust are enhanced powers. There's a whole bunch of them. So I like to take the position, look at my power of attorney, it's like, boy, this thing's kind of lengthy. Well, it is for a reason, because I think it's better to have a power and never need it than to not have one and have to go to court to get it, if you can get it by going to court. I've seen that happen too. Yeah. And that's a big deal.
It's all about pre-planning, isn't it, Stan?
Yeah, I mean, something as simple as like we do 10-care planning. Sometimes we'll have a life insurance policy, and we don't want to cash it out and get the cash. It's got let's say it's a $300,000 cash death benefit. Yeah. But it's got a $5,000 cash surrender value. Sure. Well, that's an asset. They're going to expect you to cash that out and use it for your cost of care. Well, we might want to keep it because it's a $500,000 death benefit to go to the family, right?
Right.
Okay, so we want to change the ownership from the patient to somebody else. If every insurance company, you never say oh or never, but I'm going to say it now. Yes. Every insurance company out there will not let you change ownership as POA unless that power is expressed in the document. And if you look at powers of attorney, 99 out of 100 don't have it. Mine do, because we anticipate possibly having to do that. Okay?
Interesting.
So that's why, that's why these fill in, the whole thing was about the fill in the blank ones or the ones online. Yeah. They don't have that stuff because it can be different in other places. And if they have it at all, it's just a spray and pray kind of approach to make sure it covers everything. It requires you to know quite a bit more than just fill in the blanks.
Absolutely.
So I'm not happy with them. The only thing I think they do well, or I'm talking about LegalZoom, the only thing I think they do well is if you want to get them to open up an LLC or establish a business entity, they have a whole department that does that, and I've used them, and it worked pretty good.
Interesting.
But I've seen their wills, I've seen their trusts. They have some merit, but I think that it's lacking in spots. So anyway, I didn't mean to get on that rant.
Well, it's a pretty good rant, actually.
Well, if you can do that, that's okay. But you got to look into it a little more before you do it.
Absolutely. Well, listen, if people want to contact you,
of course,
we got to talk about that. And plus, I guess you've got a seminar somewhere in the future.
I do. I'm at a new building. I'm 2 blocks away from where I used to be. I'm at 304 West Jefferson now. And like I said, if you could see through the courthouse in Pulaski, you could see one building from the other. So I'm kind of like catty corner, a block off the square from where I was. But we have a sign up that says, if you go to the wrong office, it tells you where to go. All right. Anyway, I got my signage up, so you can certainly find me. It took a while to get the signs printed and put up, but they are. It's Pierchoski Estate Law, Pierchoski Elder Law. You can call me, of course, at 931-363-7222. Or you can email me. You can get my email real easy by going to my website, which is estateplanstan.com.
That's right.
And I have a calendar. You can see where we're publicly speaking, like our seminars and that. And the next one we have coming up is March the 28th, which is this Saturday.
March 28th.
Seems like we're doing mostly Saturdays these days, but that's what the people who come want, so that's okay. So a Saturday seminar always starts at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And we call it Wills, Trust in the Nursing Home. We're like, the next one coming up is called that. We got a couple different ones. But that's what we'll talk about. A lot of what we touched on today, wills, trust, and how not to go broke in the nursing home. That sort of thing. And it's going to be right here at the WLX radio station, the back of the building. And so if you come here, you know, the radio's in the front, and in the back is what they call the Country Cafe, which is not a cafe, but it's a big venue. We got a lot of tables and chairs we can put out and fit plenty of people. If you need a physical address, it's 1212 North Locust Avenue in Lawrenceburg. And again, that's March 28th. It's coming up on a month away, but it's not too early to RSVP for that.
Yeah, absolutely not. It's never too early to plan either, Stan. That's
right.
what we've talked about so much here. And I'm amazed a lot of times, really, in my little world, of how often people have not planned.
I think the reason people procrastinate is if you don't know the options, you're reluctant to really take action.
Yeah.
Once they come to a seminar or talk to me and lay out all the options, usually they gravitate toward one, then they're more willing to do it because they feel like, okay, I've just made an informed decision. I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, but this one sounds like it's good for my family.
Yeah.
I think that helps the procrastination problem.
Absolutely, absolutely. Stan, what do you got going on this weekend, bud? You got a big weekend?
We cast 1776. We're doing that for the bicentennial.
Oh, yeah.
The actual performance is in May, but tickets are on sale right now for You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. That's one of our children's shows.
Oh, wow.
I forget the performance dates, and I'm going to get yelled at for not having them, but you can go to startheater.org and get that, or call the theater.
I've always wanted to do the theater. I haven't taken time to do it, but I think it would be so much fun.
We still have one or two parts open for 1776 that are like one or two sentences to speak.
Yeah.
And not singing, or if it's singing, it's group singing. So if you want to dip your toe in the water, that's a good way to start.
Who would I be in the 1776? Would I be
One of the congressmen.
One of the congressmen? Maybe.
You want to be for independence or against?
I want to grow my hair long and be Ben Franklin.
I don't know if you noticed, but I'm not cutting the back of my hair. I'm going for a ponytail because I don't like to wear a wig. I'm a small role in it. I'm going to direct it. But I'm a small role in it because it's a role where I can, if anything gets flubbed up, I can keep it going. If somebody drops a line, I can get them back on track.
The Star Theater, check it out in Pulaski. Estate Plan Stand, everybody, and that's a good way to look him up. EstatePlanStand.com. That phone number to the office 363-7222, and always good to have you here on the Friday mornings.
It's always a pleasure.
And good Lord willing, we'll be back next Friday, and be thinking about things like you might want to talk to Stan about. And call us. The lines are always open.
This show's for you and your
That's
questions.
right. That's right. Well, till next time, we've got about 10 seconds before this thing takes over.
Always a pleasure. And don't forget Valentine's Day tomorrow.
Valentine's
Don't get in the doghouse.
XE W287 AA, W237FD Lawrenceburg.